I'm a child again. Hi, I just had a shower. Wii Sports is a game played by everyone and their dog, and their dog's dog, and their dog's dog's dog, and so on and so forth. Even if you personally never owned a Wii, you definitely knew someone who did, and you would all come together to compete in the digital arena of Wii Sports. Some of you would be there to have fun, others would be there for blood and glory. One of you would always be cocky enough to think you didn't need the wrist strap, but that person would always swing with too much enthusiasm and fling it into the TV, at which point all joy and happiness was sucked out of the room as you stared at the broken screen, which now looked like a barcode during Pride Month. It's a universally beloved experience that we'd all kill to experience again. But we've all heard this story before. We all had a playground that we loved going to as a child that we would play at all the time. We all remember the monkey bars, the slide, the flying fox, the sandpit, the nearby tennis court with a net made of steel, and we'd have a whale of a time. But then you revisit that playground in your adulthood. The monkey bars are old and worn, the slide is smaller than you remember, the flying fox was removed because some kid went too fast, flung off the end and died, there's a dried up turd in the sandpit, and the tennis court is overgrown with weeds and litter because it hasn't been touched in years. Everything you once loved has been ruined by the passage of time. Has Wii Sports suffered the same fate? Is it as great as we remember? Was it even good to begin with? Or is it simply a glorified tech demo whose legacy and cultural impact have been tainted by nostalgia and our warped perception of the past? Let's find out, shall we? For those who are under the age of 3 or were stranded on a deserted island for the last 20 years, the Wii was all the rage back in the 2000s. Everyone wanted one, even the boomers who believed that video games were rotting the minds of children. And this is because of the Wii's focus on motion control, something that was revolutionary at the time. So much so that the console's codename was literally Revolution. It blew the general population away. The closest thing we had to this sort of technology in our day-to-day lives was the automatic doors at supermarkets. It was amazing. I thought it was witchcraft, and in a way, it is. The Wiimote is basically a magic wand with buttons, and its movement affected what was happening on the screen. How was my empty young mind supposed to comprehend that? This was unlike anything we had ever seen before, so naturally we all wanted to get our hands on one and try it out. If you had a Wii, it would have been bundled with Wii Sports when you bought it. For most of us, Wii Sports was our first experience with this motion control technology. Wii Sports demonstrated the sort of thing the Wii and Wiimote were capable of. It allowed you to play 5 different sports: tennis, baseball, bowling, golf, and boxing, and also offered some little training mini-games for each. There's also Wii Fitness that gives you a selection of those mini-games to complete to determine your Wii Fitness age. But no one fucking did that, so let's ignore that and give the other ones a whirl, starting with tennis. For this, I'll be using the actual me I had back in the day. This is what I thought I looked like, and it may have been accurate for the time, but things have changed over the years. These days, my me looks like this. My childlike, cheery demeanor has evolved into a weary, apathetic neutrality that comes with getting older and learning more about what the real world is really like. I've gotten paler, and you can really tell how much closer I've gotten to death. Fun stuff. I actually used to play tennis in real life, and clearly Wii Sports recognizes that. It's even called me a pro. Let's see if that holds up with a match. It's best of 3, me and me versus Saburo and Theo. Game on, motherfuckers!
Love 15.
Huh. Playing Wii Sports tennis is pretty much exactly what it looks like. It's tennis without any footwork whatsoever. You swing the Wiimote in the same way you would for a forehand or a backhand in actual tennis, and the timing of your swing does matter. It determines which direction your shot goes, and if you're skilled enough, you can even put some spin on it. Apart from serving, which can be done with a button, it's all about moving the Wiimote in the right way to make the perfect swing. It's a game of precision, timing, and strategy, the kind only a tennis master could succeed at. Anyway, I got my ass handed to me, so we're going again. For tennis, I'd say that the motion controls are actually very responsive and accurate. The game doesn't ever decide to ignore you and do its own thing. The only thing that's kinda weird is if you're playing on your own, by default, you have your Mii taking up both spots on the court, and you're in control of both Miis simultaneously, which can be a lot to process at once. It can mess with your timing if the volleying Mii misses, which happens a lot because the depth perception can be kind of odd at times, and I'm blaming this second loss on that. That said, you can opt to replace your clone with a CPU Mii who will have a skill level of 0, but will ease the burden of covering the whole court yourself. This makes it a lot easier to win, and even though that victory will make your skill level go down for some reason, you will appreciate how fun tennis is just a bit more. And obviously it'll be more fun when you play with other people, even if you keep bruising each other's wrists from swinging too hard, which, now that I think about it, is the perfect cover-up for domestic abuse. Not that I'm endorsing that. Next, baseball. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know a fucking thing about baseball. The only thing I know is that in 50% of American movies, there is the presence of at least 2 children's baseball teams that are crucial to the plot. There's always a slow-motion shot when the final batter heads onto the field, or oval, or pitch, and the fate of the game rests in this kid's hands, and then it's a home run and everyone stands up and cheers, and that's the American dream, and if it's not that, it's college football, whatever the hell that is. My only baseball knowledge comes from Wii Sports. The aim here is to score more runs than your opponent by hitting balls and running around the bases. If 3 of your players get caught out, you swap sides and become the pitcher, where the other team gets a turn at scoring runs. The team with the most runs wins. And that's baseball. I think. As far as playing the game, the Wiimote does a good job of accurately picking up your swings, and there is a lot of flexibility when it comes to pitching, as it responds to your angle and speed. But I gotta say, baseball is hard. Because the pitcher can shake up the speed and trajectory of their pitches, it can be hard to properly align and time your swing so you can get a good shot in. You want to go for those home runs and out of the parks, but Sakura the Merciless here is wildly unpredictable, so I never know when and where to swing. I only scored 3 runs compared to her 7. I believe this is the point where everyone is supposed to say, skill issue, and you know what? You're right. But if I was the type of person who could perfectly adapt and react to Sakura's pitches and score a home run every time in a sport I know nothing about, what kind of person would I be? It's an American sport! No one else gives a fuck! Sorry. That said, baseball is quite enjoyable, and even though I lost, I made the most of my brief moments of glory. Out of the park! Let's fucking go! Woo! How do you like them apples, Sakura? How do you like them? I also like how it involves some of the other 99 random Miis I created all those years ago. It's a lot of fun. Not as fun as tennis, but still fun. Now I've been looking forward to this the whole time. The crown jewel of Wii Sports, bowling. Bowling is what Wii Sports is known for. It's what everyone remembers the most. When you boot up Wii Sports, everyone ignores everything else and goes straight to bowling because it's the best one of them all. Even though bowling itself is very simple and probably the most straightforward of all the sports in Wii Sports, it manages to be the most enjoyable. As for the controls, it does a great job of reading your movements to get the throw you want, accurately applying the exact speed, trajectory, and spin you're going for. It's reliable. And on top of that, bowling just has the best atmosphere. I mean, the whole game has a great atmosphere, the fields, courts, and arenas all look great, and any and all music this game has is fantastic too, but bowling just does it the best. The best way I can describe it is that it feels like home. Seeing the lanes and hearing that music, the ambience of pins being knocked over and bowls being bowled, there's just something so cozy about it. You can imagine all your friends and family in the living room playing bowling together. When you think of Wii Sports, you think of bowling, and it's just perfect. Bowling is the sport I spent the most time in as a kid. I loved playing with balls, and I still do to this day. I try and play with balls every day. I spent a long time trying to get a new personal best. The highest I ever got was 200, and I did not beat that in this session even after all these years, but I did manage to raise my skill level enough to become a pro, which gave me a cool new pattern for my bowling ball. That's another thing this game does well. The main idea is to play Wii Sports with other people, but it is just as worth playing on your own. You can aim for more personal bests and try to raise your skill level and become a pro in all the sports. But bowling is the one we care about the most. It's the peak of this game. Which can only mean one thing. If something reaches its peak, then it's bound to come crashing down shortly afterwards. And that brings us to golf. Wii Sports Golf isn't necessarily bad, but it's weaker than all the other sports so far. And that's not just because I hate golf. Yes, golf is slow and boring and tedious, but it doesn't have to be like that in Wii Sports. In concept, Wii Sports Golf is a great idea, and it seems to be the best suited for motion controls of the 5 sports. But the motion controls here actually aren't that great. I found that the game struggled to understand what I was trying to do. It wouldn't be able to tell how I was holding the club, where I was holding the club, how powerfully I was swinging. It just wasn't very consistent. Sometimes it was too sensitive, other times it wasn't sensitive enough. It wasn't a complete disaster, but it was a little annoying when I was trying to do a medium strength shot to land the ball on the green, but my Mii did his own thing and just fucked it over the green and into a bunker. Good on ya, you fucking moron. It was especially irritating with putting. It got to a point where I couldn't be bothered trying to do it properly and just decided to... Without the motion controls, Wii Sports Golf would be no different to Tiger Woods' PGA Golf Tour 2000. Or whatever the hell that game was called. That said, Wii Sports Golf wasn't that bad. When you're playing with mates or family, you go hard and long on tennis, baseball and bowling, but by the end of the night where everyone's getting tired and are on the come down, it is nice to play a few rounds of golf to just wind down and chill out. It has a calming serenity factor that the other sports don't have. That's probably due to the presence of nature and the slower pace of the game, so it does have that going for it. But still, it's not the best Wii Sports has to offer. You don't get a group of people going, "Oh mate, I'm gonna destroy you in Wii Sports." "Nah mate, there's no way you're gonna beat me." "Oh yeah? Well get ready for the thrashing of a lifetime. You'll have never seen anything like this." And lastly, the black sheep of the sports in this game, boxing. Boxing is unique amongst the 5 Wii Sports in the sense that it was the only one that no one wanted to play. It involves using the nunchuck, which in itself is quite a weird piece of equipment. The Wiimote represents one fist, and the nunchuck represents the other fist. To play boxing, you essentially flail around both fists and hit your opponent until they fall over and can't get back up. It's odd because it sounds like it would be fun, but it just isn't. Granted, my first match was ruined by the fact that my nunchuck fist wasn't fisting. No matter what I did, the most I could get out of my nunchuck fist was a slight budge. Otherwise, it was useless. I literally had to fight with one hand tied behind my back. And honestly, I think I did pretty well. I mean, I didn't win. It was a tie. But that also means I didn't lose either. One-handed? That's pretty impressive, especially when you consider I've been losing pretty much the whole time in this game. Having a working nunchuck didn't improve the experience. It essentially revealed that boxing is mindlessly thrusting the Wiimote and nunchuck towards your opponent. Like golf, it's really bad at reading your inputs and rarely does what you actually want it to do. Every time I tried to fist my opponent, it would go off on some weird angle. Every time I tried to do a hook and hit my opponent from the side, it would do nothing. It seems entirely random when your moves are read correctly and when your hits actually land. Would you believe that even though I had a working nunchuck this time, I lost anyway? Just like tennis, it seems that the more control I have over the situation, the worse I perform. What a life I lead. It should be pretty clear that boxing is the worst of the 5 sports, closely followed by golf. I'd say baseball is firmly in the middle of the pack, and tennis and bowling are at the top, with bowling, obviously, wearing the crown. But that's not all Wii Sports has to offer. There is also a training mode with 15 different mini-games, 3 for each sport. These test your ability in a specific aspect of each sport, things like accuracy and timing and consistency. Pretty much all of these challenges are fun. Obviously some are more fun than others, I'm looking at you, boxing, but they are all enjoyable in their own ways. My favourites? Returning balls, power throws, and target practice. I wasn't expecting to like target practice as much as I did, but it was really fun and satisfying. It made golf more enjoyable than it was on its own. To be honest, a lot of these are more fun than the actual sports. For example, dodgeball over here was a lot better than regular boxing, simply because it removed the boxing. What's really cool about them is that they actually help you get better at the sports. Earlier I was complaining that baseball was hard, but by playing these baseball mini-games, I noticed myself improving, hitting balls more consistently, and even being able to somewhat aim. Maybe now I'm able to get my revenge. Look out, suckerer, here I come.
You're out. You're out. You're out. Time out.
I guess my only real criticism is that beyond the sports and training, there isn't a whole lot to do. There's Wii Fitness, but you can only do that once a day, and I blew it on a recording that I stuffed up, so I don't even get to show it to you. I suppose the game could have done with a few more sports? I know that Wii Sports Resort came later with a bunch of new sports, but I don't know. 5 doesn't feel like enough, especially when one of them is boxing. Maybe there could be sports that aren't as swing heavy? Give a bit more variety to the actual motions you're making, maybe? If you can't tell, I'm struggling to fault this game. Even at its worst, it's still pretty good. Aside from some iffy motion control issues in golf and boxing, Wii Sports is amazing, and I can't deny the impact it's had. Not only is the gameplay consistently fun when you play on your own, the game has been able to bring people together and craft memories in a way that no other game in history has been able to do. In that sense, Wii Sports is legendary, and totally deserving of its legacy and success. Even if it cheated by being bundled with the Wii. At the end of the day, Wii Sports is really just a tech demo, but fuck, what a tech demo it turned out to be. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm off to shove the Wiimote up my ass. What? It's the perfect shape. Don't look at me like that. We've all thought it. Haven't we?